Howdy y'all, Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am back with another weekly update. We're gonna call this the High Garden Fashion Edition because it is hot. So I am trying to cool off any possible way I can. There are a few things that have changed, so let's go see what's going on out in the garden. All right, we will begin over here in what is currently housing most of the hot peppers. So we're just going to refer to this as the pepper patch for today. Usually it is the tomato patch, but as you can see, there's no tomato plants in here. And then one thing that just got transplanted in here, and it looks a little sad from transplant shock, is a Persian carpet zinnia. I just planted that to get some like flowers and color in here. I like feeding the pollinators however I can. So this will be in the shade soon, and then it should recover pretty nicely and be okay. I just need to continue to keep the soil moist so that those roots can take hold fairly well. So down here is where the other green zebra has germinated, and that one looks pretty good. The peppers that are down here are the Buena Mulata, which are in the cayenne family. They're essentially just a purple cayenne. They will ripen to red, but we really like the way that they kind of go through this whole sunset color palette as they begin to ripen. So you can see here we have like peach, orange, and then, you know, it does make its way to red. And then this is a hybrid cayenne called Arapaho, and I don't see, well, it's bigger than your normal cayenne. Some of the cayennes that I've harvested off of this have been like 10 inches long and quite chunky. So they're bigger than your normal everyday run-of-the-mill cayenne peppers. But because they're so much larger, they create a lot more crushed red pepper. So that's been really useful. All right, moving on to this middle bed here. This houses serranos at this end, and then the rest of the bed is jalapenos. You can see it has lots of basil growing. Here's some parsley that has been around all season. I expect it's probably kind of bitter right now, so I'm just waiting for it to, there's a swallowtail, cool off a bit. So it'll kind of get its good, you know, parsley flavor back. What has recently been planted in here are some mini pumpkins. So this end has mandarin mini pumpkins, and I don't know anything about these other than they're mini pumpkins. I don't know how big the plant's gonna get. I don't know if it's gonna be like a sprawling vine and, you know, this part of the yard is gonna go crazy. We'll just have to learn about it as it grows, because like I said, I'm totally unsure what its growing habit is going to be like. It also has companion plants planted in here, so you can see radishes here, marigold to kind of help slow down the onslaught of squash bugs. And then also transplanted into this bed was Persian carpet zinnia, which you can see right here. All right, this end apparently has a roly-poly issue because the spark mini pumpkins that were planted right here, both seeds germinated. Both of them got wiped out by roly-polies. It's been happening all season with young seedlings. You can see where it kind of just withered away there. And I'm also dealing with ant issues apparently. Okay, so I need to get a couple of things going on in here. I need to treat the roly-polies and I need to treat the ants. So let me add that to my to-do list. And then that was a marigold that was transplanted in, and something ate all the leaves off of it. So that is super, one of the challenges of gardening. All right, but like I was saying, this end of the bed is all jalapenos. You can see some lemon spice there getting ripe. The flavor of these isn't any different than any other jalapeno. They're just different colors. I kind of like just having a rainbow of things from the garden, so I just try to grow a different variety of colors if I can. And for jalapenos, you can get them in every color of the rainbow almost. So that's kind of what I have here. Easily distracted by insects. There's a giant swallowtail there on that, if you guys can see. Beautiful. Hello. I love that so much. This front bed has eggplants. There's a swallowtail again. And a big bumblebee. All right, back to reality here. All right, this front bed has eggplants along the front, and then it has cow peas planted down the middle. The variety in this bed is blue goose. And then 3 days ago, some cucumbers were planted in here. And at this end, I planted Chicago pickling. And then at the other end, I planted Hosinator. Both of those are vining varieties, and they would benefit from trellising. Clearly, I don't have a trellis in this bed. My plan is to just let them, you know, make their way through the cow peas and have a grand old time. So we will see what happens with that. At this point, just trying to keep the soil moisture levels right so those seeds can germinate probably next week before they pop up. The cow peas, these plants are doing fairly well. I like to harvest them whenever the pod starts to feel kind of papery. It'll dry out. I don't let it dry out completely because I don't want the plant to think that it's done growing, you know, pods. So once it feels like halfway to paper-like, then I will pull it off the plant and shell it in the house onto a dehydrator tray. And I just let that tray sit on my heat mat that my sourdough sits on. It's only set to like 77 degrees. So it's not, you know, being dehydrated at a crazy high temperature. It's really just the air temperature that's kind of drying them out. And then after they're completely dehydrated, I put them in a jar in the pantry, and we use them on New Year's. That's the only day of the year I can get my husband to eat black-eyed peas. So I grow all this for one meal, which is perfectly fine. I do share it with my mom though, so she gets to eat some of our homegrown luck too. So this one is a good candidate to be harvested today and shelled inside onto that tray. The other one that I was messing with down there, tomorrow, it will be ready for it to be harvested and shelled onto the tray. And then the blooms, if I can kind of shade it out so you can see, are kind of like a lilac lavender color. They're really cute. And again, this variety is Blue Goose. The seeds came from Baker Creek. So far, I'm pretty happy with them. So far, they've been fairly prolific, fairly healthy plants, no issues or anything. So I will probably continue to grow them unless I find something better. So if you saw last week's weekly update, you saw that we had a second round of swallowtail caterpillars making their home on these dill plants. I am pretty sure they all made their way to the calyx stage where they kind of form their cocoon and become swallowtails. I don't know 100%. I haven't, you know, dug around trying to find them. Birds, I guess, could have gotten them maybe, but they were all a pretty good size and then they disappeared. So I'm thinking we're gonna have several more swallowtails come out of the garden, which is really exciting. And I do need to come through and harvest all of these seeds. These are ready. So I will have dill for forever now because I have tons of seeds here, which is awesome. All right, standing at the front of this patch, I can kind of point out some of the things, or I can talk about some of the things that are going to be happening within these spaces in the coming weeks. So yesterday, I started the first round of brassica seeds, and most of those are going to be succession sown. So I'll have 2 more rounds of those coming through, and then some leafy greens and some lettuces and stuff. So I have to fit 3 rounds of brassicas within 5 raised beds, plus root vegetables and some of the leafy greens. So along the back sides where the tomatoes used to be growing, that is where my plan will be for brassicas. I think I can put them about 12 to 18 inches apart, which means I can put several plants in each bed. And then if there's any room down the middles where, you know, squash and cucumbers and what have you are supposed to be winding through, then I can kind of stagger them this way. And then the root vegetables, I'll just plant in between them. I know for sure that radishes and beets make good companion plants for the brassicas. So for definitely those will get put between. And then carrots, I'll have to think about. I'm really trying to grow a lot of food this fall and winter, so these beds are going to be packed if I can get everything to come to fruition, which will be really excellent. But yeah, I probably need to sit down and plan that out all the way. But so far my plan is to kind of put the brassicas along the back row and then stagger where I'm able to squeeze them in, and just kind of make them as tightly packed in there as I can without impeding their growth too much. I know some of those varieties you have to follow the packet spacing instructions because they do take up quite a bit of room. But I think some of the other ones I can kind of squeeze together a little bit more. Over here in the okra patch, I'm trying to think if I planted anything. I did. I transplanted some Persian carpet zinnias into these beds, one at each end, just to add, you know, color and flowers and life into the garden. But I am actively working on taking plants out of here. The okra is not coming out. The okra is still heavily producing, making me very, very happy. And the cowpeas that are in here are also producing pretty well, making me pretty happy. So what's going to be coming out of here is going to be the bell peppers. And I have already taken out the poblano peppers that were down here. I had 3 plants. 2 of them were very unhealthy and just not growing well. They weren't producing any peppers. They were struggling to even generate new leaves. And then the 3rd one that was growing right here, I just kind of pulled it out just to make some room for those brassicas that got started. For the remainder of the brassicas that need to be transplanted, again, it'll just be kind of a staggering sort of situation. We'll plant them along the front and then just kind of wherever we have room throughout the rest of the bed. As some of this other stuff starts to become unhealthy and trickle out, I'll cut it down, make room for brassicas and root vegetables. No big deal at all. Some of the other things that we have growing in here, the cowpeas that are in this bed are the pink-eyed purple hull variety. Those are like an outstanding superstar performer for the state of Texas. So if you're considering growing black-eyed peas, I would definitely recommend this variety for sure. These 2 are ready to harvest. The pods are completely red at this point, and they have that sort of halfway to paper kind of feel, where they feel kind of crunchy but still a little bit soft. I don't know how else to describe that. I'm sorry. There is a hamey melon growing on here, and there's one melon back there. I'll walk back there and show you in just a minute. And both melon plants must have heard me talking some major trash about them, because I was ready to pull them out once the melons, the 2 melons that are growing, came off, because now we have more melons growing. So this one didn't get pollinated fully, so that will actually fall off probably. But now I have to wait on more melons before I can pull this plant. It's okay. I think what's getting planted there doesn't get planted until September, so it'll be okay. The other thing that's growing on this side of the trellis is the Thai green noodle bean, and it slowed down for a couple of weeks, but it's starting to bounce back. So you can see we have quite a few baby beans here, some blooms here. This is another one that has like really light purple, lilac, lavender blossoms, and they kind of fade to a white color whenever they're done and the beans are ready to set. So these are really good in stir fries. That's really the only use I found for them, because they have kind of a squeaky texture. They wouldn't make very good canned beans or anything like that, but they're really good stir fried. So on those lazy meal nights where I just need something quick and easy, these guys fit the bill to go with some chicken or thinly sliced steak or what have you. All right, let's walk back there, take a look at that hamey melon, mostly because I haven't looked at it today. So this pea has 1 more day before it'll be ready. You can see how it still has a little bit of green in it. Once it's completely red like those other 2, then I can come harvest it and shell it. So here we have, this is white velvet okra, and it does have slightly fuzzy texture, but that doesn't come through whenever it's cooked. It doesn't affect, you know, you don't feel like the fuzz or anything whenever you're eating it. It's just nice and smooth. It doesn't have those thick ribs like some of the other okra varieties do. There's another one. So I really love this one, and I've grown it for 3 years now, and I will continue to grow it for many, many more. So there's another, this is the Bubba, Baby Bubba dwarf variety. This one's ready to be harvested. Okra blossom, probably my favorite flower. They're so dang cute. Anyway, the reason why I came back here was to show you guys this hamey melon, and it will look kind of similar to a cantaloupe, so you can see how it's getting all the texture that cantaloupe has, but it's going to be yellow, and apparently it tastes like a sweeter version of cantaloupe, so we'll see. This one probably has a couple more days before it's ready, so the kids are getting excited for that. We have some peas growing back here too. Here's one that's ready. That one snuck up on me. I'll have to remember to grab that later. All right, moving on to this raised bed. It is very similar to the other one. Okra along the back, sweet peppers along the front, melons growing, and then we have Chinese red noodle beans on this side. So you can see there's some baby beans there. I thought that I saw some blossoms earlier. Maybe I was seeing things. But we have this melon here. This is Kajari melon. And apparently it tastes like a cross between cantaloupe and honeydew. We'll see. These I'm growing for my kids. I'm not a really big melon eater, but I might try them just so I can tell you guys what I think they taste like. And then there is a Hostinator cucumber on this vine as well. That's this plant right here. So hopefully I get some cucumbers off of here. We will see. The plants that are gonna come out of this bed, I'm gonna pull all these sweet peppers. We have a shishito here. Last year my shishito was an absolute monster. I had 2 plants and I had so many shishito peppers that we had to have stir fry like twice a week just to be able to utilize them all. And it was insane. This year, obviously not super great production. These guys have been really productive, but we're not really big sweet pepper eaters, and I have all that I need for the year. So I'm gonna get rid of these, all 4 of the, oh man, every week, the name trips me up. All 4 of the candy cane chocolate cherry, once they kind of reach their mature size and start to ripen, I'll pull them off the plant and get rid of the plant. That's going to make room for those brassicas that are slowly being started, and just kind of open up the space a little bit. The cowpeas that are in this bed are phenomenal. That's the name of them. I'm not, you know, giving an adjective to describe them, although they are pretty good. They are phenomenal. They are from Burpee Seeds. The peas themselves look like Holstein cows. They are black and white, so that's really cool. So they set a whole bunch of pods at once, as you can see here, and then they kind of go dormant for a minute, and then they'll set a whole bunch more. So this one is in its kind of dormant stage, and then it's going to look like this again in another week or 2. So we'll get several peas out of this bed from the phenomenal variety. And then right here, it's not a camo squash. That is a black bear, that's 2 black bear pumpkin plants. I planted 2 seeds and both of them germinated. I haven't decided if I'm gonna let them both stay or take one out. We'll see. We'll see how they continue to grow. So I have a white icicle radish buddy planted near them, and then I have a marigold planted near them. Hopefully that's enough to deter squash bugs. We'll see. And then we have a fuzzy, I just noticed this guy, fuzzy caterpillar right there. I'll show you guys some red okra that's ready to harvest. I can't remember what variety this is. I'll look on my map because I kind of mapped out everything because I didn't label like I should have. I'll look on my map and try to put the name up here. I think it might be a hybrid variety, but I'm not 100% sure. And we have more of the baby Bubba dwarf okra right here. All right, the sunflower patch is really only half of a sunflower patch. That's totally okay. The goal here is to let these flowers bloom, and there's 5 different varieties. So we have 3 over here and then 2 over here. After they bloom, cut them down, amend all of these fabric quads to get ready for okra. The 2 bags in front of the greenhouse and the one underneath the trellis will also have okra. So I'm almost doubling my okra space this year. I did not plant enough last year. I had all of these full of okra last year, and I've already utilized probably about half of what I harvested. So I want to make sure that I get more in the ground to be able to have more okra next year. Hopefully lasts a little bit longer, and we get some bigger cloves as well. All right, the flower bed. I did transplant some things into here. I transplanted in some celosia and some Tulsi basil. So the plants with the colored stems are going to be celosia. I didn't label what was planted where. It's going to be a surprise whenever it blooms, basically. And then Tulsi basil. There's 2 Tulsi basil plants and 4 celosia plants in here. Other than that, not a whole ton else is happening. Just trying to keep things alive through the heat of August and most of September, and then it'll finally start to cool down, and all the plants and all the adults caring for the plants will be a lot less miserable outdoors. So here we have celosia there by this Rudbeckia plant, and then we have the same variety on this side by some marigolds, feverfew. This is a milkweed. More Rudbeckia. We have cosmos in bloom. The other Tulsi basil is right here because that gaillardia is a monster, and it kind of encroached on the space where I was going to put the Tulsi. But the other pink stemmed celosia is right here. I think this one might be dragon's breath. I'll go check the patio in a minute to see if I can remember what the other one is. But yeah, you can see the gaillardia is just an absolute beast, which makes me really happy because it has provided a lot of flowers. The butterflies have been hitting it pretty hard and heavy, so really happy about that. The salvia that is growing along the back of the flower bed here, I cut it down once already this year. My goal was to actually cut it out because you can see how big the plant actually gets, and it takes a ton of space. But I ran out of time. A lot of things happened over the summer that kept me busy and out of the garden, so it grew back. But we have had, let me come back this way. We have had a hummingbird come through every day this week, right around 3 p.m. It's almost like clockwork. You can look out the window and watch it happen. The hummingbird comes and hits this salvia and this salvia, and then that white icicle radish that's in front of that black bear pumpkin, it hits the little flowers on that, and then it just goes on its way. Almost like clockwork around 3 p.m. every day this week. I have watched that happen. So it is really cool that even without a hummingbird feeder, like intentionally put out to feed them, they're still finding food sources within the garden. So part of me is kind of tempted to leave this wild and wayward salvia all throughout the flower bed just to feed hummingbirds. But the other part of me that likes a bit more structure and organization says to remove it. So I have the chaotic side in conflict with the organized side. So what we're gonna end up with, I have no idea. It'll be a surprise to both of us, I'm sure. Both meaning you, the viewer, and me, the person with the conflicted brain space. back over here before I forget, the ginger is doing magnificently. We've had all kinds of new sprouts come out, so that tells me that the rhizomes that this greenery is coming off of are growing really well underneath the soil and the mulch. Same thing over here. This bag, these are 10-gallon grow bags with ginger. Both of them just have so many different shoots and greenery happening. This one, I don't know if a grasshopper tagged it or what, but it's kind of knocked over. It's still growing though, so super happy. New shoots here and there. So I think the harvest time will be in December or January. So once it starts to get cold, I'll have to move these guys into the garage, much to my husband's dismay, I'm sure. But they don't like freezing temperatures. So once we're in danger of frost, I'll move them into there, and then as this stuff starts to die back, then I'll harvest the ginger out of the pots there. So very excited. For now, we have the pepper green stalk. I finally got the basil transplanted into the top tier here, and it is alternating between the red Reuben and the Tulsi basil. And I really wanted the Tulsi basil to be able to save it for medicinal tea. The red Reuben is just to give a pop of color in here. I also planted celosia where the nasturtiums used to be growing. Nasturtiums do not survive Texas summers, so they got removed long ago. So I got celosia planted in those pockets. Celosia will survive Texas summers as long as I remember to water everything. The peppers are still kind of struggling. The leafcutter bees, all of these leaves that have notches are because leafcutter bees came and cut the leaves. That's why they're called leafcutter bees. And while I don't mind sharing my plants with them, after a while they do start to take a toll on the plant. So you could tell that the plants that haven't been tagged by those bees are much healthier than the plants that have. I do see new growth. I do see blooms. So I do think that the plants will bounce back. I have been watering regularly, fertilizing regularly. I also added coffee grounds to each of the pockets, added more soil anywhere roots were exposed. So I think things are going to bounce back. It's just taking a little bit of time. So you can see here a comparison of the damaged leaves from the leafcutter bees, and then we have some new growth here that looks pretty good. So going to keep an eye on this, see what happens. I haven't been harvesting much from this lately, which you can tell, but out there I'm harvesting every day. It's, yeah, happy peppers. Sort of happy. Right, on to the strawberries. There's the praying mantis we saw last week, still there, hanging out on the strawberries today. Last week he was down there, hanging out down there, so really cool. We do have some new growth happening. I cut off a bunch of dead stuff. Clearly I missed some things. I need to take these runners and deposit them into pockets wherever I can so that we could try to get new strawberry plants anchored. Like this one, try to put kind of like that. I like to push it down a little bit, and then I just watered it a little while ago, so the soil is moist. So hopefully that will take root, and then we have a new plant come off of there. Once it does take root, you can separate it from the old plant. Oops. Don't tug it after you deposit it where you want it. So we'll see. This is what I'm trying to do, is to get runners to come off so I can deposit them in empty pockets, try to get more plants to grow, trying to leave the praying mantis alone so it will eat pests and stuff. Just don't go after the hummingbird. Do you hear me? Lime tree, I think I need to fertilize it. It's looking a little under the weather. I did just water it, but maybe I didn't water enough. But I can get some liquid fertilizer in here, see if I can get some growth happening here. A little bit healthier looking plants. All of this basil looks pretty terrible. So I'll watch it over the next half hour or so, see if things perk up after being watered. Maybe I need to add some more water. Maybe I need to fertilize. Maybe I need more soil. I'll keep an eye on it. I'll let you guys know next week what I decided to do with this. Green stock houses herbs, and it houses anything from medicinal to tea to just pollinator friendly herbs. I just kind of have a smorgasbord happening here. So some things are doing really well, like this thyme. It has been here since the end of 2021, so almost 4 years. Some things are really starting to suffer, this mint being one of them. This is an East Hyssop. Again, I did water, but if things don't perk up, I'll come out here and I'll get some more water in here. It's really hard to keep things hydrated well enough whenever it is so hot outside and the sun is baking down on things for so many continuous hours. But I'm trying, y'all. So, marshmallow plant, looking a little worse for wear, but it does have some flowers happening on it. Tarragon looks, this is the tarragon. Tarragon looks pretty good. This is hyssop. It looks pretty decent. And then we have rue down at the bottom. Also looks all right. Some of the stuff that has died off, I expected to. It's just not heat tolerant. This was the Mondalvian Dragon Balm, and it looked really cool whenever it was alive and blooming. But again, it's not super heat tolerant. So I'll just clear that pocket out, get it ready for something else. Chamomile, that's done. Lavender looks really well. It's semi-drought tolerant, so you can go without watering this longer than you can some of the other stuff. So I need to show a little TLC to this green stock. My fingers smell really nice now after touching that lavender. I need to probably run some fertilizer through, make sure everything is deeply watered instead of possibly the quick water I just gave it. And then, you know, maybe add some more soil where I can. Anyway, oh yeah, I did transplant my last Tulsi basil into here because it is a medicinal, so I thought it'd be good to have it there. So in total, I had 6 Tulsi basil and 6 red Reuben basils to transplant out. The other 3 red Reuben will go into the front just to give some like different colored foliage up there because everything is pretty green. And then the other things that are going to be put up there are the remaining celosias. So Dragon's Breath and Sunday Cherry are what got put into the backyard, and then Sunday Wine Red, Sunday Cherry, and Dragon's Breath is what went into the green stock, and then Ruby Parfait, and then the other 3 will be put up front along with the red Reuben basil. Here are the brassicas that I started yesterday. You can see that it starts to get shade pretty early in the day. So the good thing about that is whenever it is at its absolute hottest outside, this entire tray is shaded and it gets the early morning sun. So this worked really well for me seed starting last year with the brassicas. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If I don't have success with it this year, I'll go back to the indoor method with grow lights and such. But I don't, in order to do that, I would need to clear out a space to have the grow rack and the lights and all the, you know, the entire setup. And I'm not at a place that I could do that time-wise and space-wise. So I'd rather hold off for the January seed starting that happens in the dead of winter before I do that. So hopefully this works. I'll keep you guys updated, of course. But that is a look at the garden on August the 8th, 2025. It is hot out. It's getting a ton of sun right now. Some things are doing incredibly well and some things are starting to suffer in the heat, but we are doing our best in the wild and wayward August out here. I left my water all the way over here. Why did I do that? All right, but that is it for this week's weekly update. I'm about to go in and enjoy some air conditioning, cool off, drink a lot more water. I will get out here and harvest whenever much more of the yard is shaded. I didn't get it done this morning like I like to do, so I have to wait until there's not so much blasted sun out there so that I can get that done. But if you liked this weekly update and you would like to see how the garden continues to grow and change from week to week, please like, subscribe, and comment. As I talked about through the video, fall gardening is really ramping up, so as I talked about throughout the video, fall gardening is really ramping up. So please stay tuned to see how everything grows and, you know, how I kind of fit everything into the current growing space that I have. Otherwise, until next time, go find a way to get your garden manicures. Bye!